Hi everyone, Aidan here. Today I'd like to talk to you and give you some tips about how to properly source internationally. In today's world, we have a major disruption to our supply chains, and as a result, a lot of people have now started to look for new suppliers in new countries. So this might be a refresher course for very experienced buyers, or this might be a bit of information for people who maybe are not so used to having to go and search for new suppliers. When you are considering moving to a new country to find new suppliers, you should always keep three things in mind. One is the culture. The culture and the way people do day-to-day business can be very different than the way you do business. So it's very important that you can keep an eye on this and keep this in mind. The second thing is time zone differences. Again, having time zone differences closer to your place of work allows you to go in and be able to interact with that supplier in a time not too distant or too far from where you are working. If somebody's on the other side of the world, then you're going to have to be working very early in the morning or very late at night. And the last thing to keep an eye on is language difficulties. While some people may be able to speak a language, the challenge a lot of people face is they may not fully comprehend what they're saying or understand the meaning behind the words. So it is vital when you are communicating with people that you are fully aware that while they may say some words, they are actually meaning something different. So now I'll go on to the tips that I can give to you. First tip I always advise is to fully know your product. And what I mean by that is you should know things like the national health and safety standards for your product. Where the goods are going to be sold, you need to make sure that your product conforms to the requirements of that local market. The second thing about knowing about your product is you should know the key factors, such as the types of materials used, the way you want it packaged, the barcoding and things like that. All these factors can either make or break the success of your product when it comes into the market. The second thing is when you are searching for new manufacturers, it is vital that you have them assessed and audited before you do any business with them. Services such as supplier audits by my company, Gudad Inspections, will allow you to get an independent report on that potential supplier and avoid you having to spend time and energy negotiating with that supplier if they're incapable of making your products. The second area in this section that I would give you some tips on is to try and avoid, as best as possible, using trade companies or agencies because they work on percentages, and if they're working on a percentage, say 10%, you more than likely are not going to get the cheapest price possible because somebody would like 10% of hypothetically a $100,000 order as opposed to an $80,000 order. The third tip that I offer, it's always important to research the import duties and taxes for the products that you will be importing from that new country. Countries have different tax rates and different duty rates for products for various countries that they trade with. So some countries it may be beneficial to buy from, whereas other countries you could have extra prohibitive taxes being put on those products purely because there's a trading issue between your country and that country that you're going to try and source from. So it's vital that you look up a thing called the HS code and that you refer to your import customs to verify what the import duties and taxes are. And it's worth remembering those import duties and taxes are based on not only the cost of the product, but also the cost of shipping the product to you. The fourth tip that I offer, it is vital to have a bilingual contract detailing the specifications of the product, the packaging, the timelines, the payment terms, warranty periods, and also ways to address any issues that may be discovered. And have that bilingual contract drawn up and signed by both parties before you book in the order. The reason for this is it sets down the process of how you're going to make the order with the company, but also by having it down in black and white, it helps overcome any potential communication issues. And when you go to have an inspection done on the product, that the inspector can draw his checklist from that, and the factory cannot say they did not know about it or were not informed about the standards of that product. So when your inspector gives us a report, you can refer back to the contract if there is any issues found from that. It is also important to have that contract enforceable in the country where the supplier is based, and also have it written in the language of the country where you're sourcing from. And the reason why I say that is that if you go to sue a company, you need to be able to enforce those rules in the countries where the supplier is from. And secondly, if a judge is reading the contract and the judge is based in that country, he can read it in the local language, and that negates any issues of misunderstanding due to language issues. When you're buying from a manufacturer, I recommend that the maximum amount that you pay is 30% deposit. You need to have a sizable gap between the deposit and the final balance to keep the manufacturer focused on producing a quality product for you. If you send an inspector into the factory and the goods aren't right, the manufacturer will more than likely lose money if you walk away. So it's in the manufacturer's interest to produce a high quality product for you so that he can get his balance of payment. The next tip, and my sixth tip for you, is to make sure that you always get the products inspected at the factory before they leave. The reason why you want to have this done is it's better to find that fault at the factory before shipping it out to you. You don't have to pay any extra costs or have paid the manufacturer for faulty products. I always recommend that you allow 5 days from the final day of the pre-shipment inspection to the day the goods are loading. The reason for this is you have to allow time for yourself to receive a report, for you to review the report, and then send the report to the manufacturer and give him time to fix and address any issues. So I always recommend 5 days for this to happen. The seventh and final tip that I would give is it's always best to try and use a logistics company from your country. The reason for this is that you have a local telephone number that you can ring, that you can overcome any language or cultural issues, and you are also tapping in to a local freight forwarder who has the global expertise of moving products around the world, but also knows that you're his customer and he has to give you his full and undivided attention. That's all my tips that I can offer you in this area. There's other videos in my channel which will help you areas like inspections and dealing with customers and suppliers. So please visit my channel to have a look. And thank you very much once again for your time in watching this video. Thank you, and bye bye.